Gave away a couple of 50-metre penalties that I'm sure Alan Joyce wasn't too pleased with. But here it is, the moment that most people went to Waverley to see. Big Tony Lockett kicked his 100th goal for the third time in his career. He now moves to 7th on the table of all-time great goal kickers, closely followed by Jason Dunstall, who did remarkably well yesterday on Jason Dunstall, keeping him goalless. And last week also, Sumich only the one. Danny, you must be pretty happy with your own form.
Yeah, not too bad, Jared. I copped a bit of a stick there a couple of weeks ago by not getting on in the state game. And
well, you can take that up with Ron after the show, Danny.
Is that a wooden seat you're on?
Not quite, Bobby. No, there's no splinters in this one, so
no splinters.
I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah, no, the side's going along pretty well at the moment. As I said 2 weeks ago, we were looking down the barrel, and to turn it around that quickly in the last 2 weeks by beating last year's grand finalists is a great effort, and I think we can only go on from there.
Well, after the last 2 weeks, I guess the decision to go to Waverley is almost looking an inspired one.
Well, I believe we play very good football on the bigger grounds now. We've played 4 games out at Waverley this year and won them all, so, you know, that only urges well for the future.
Ron, you were out at Waverley yesterday. Can we give a little bit of a summary on your votes?
Yeah, it's a very impressive effort by St Kilda in the last 6 days. Thrashing in the second half, particularly both the West Coast and Hawthorn, and they did it in a style. Yesterday we had Harvey again, he's in sensational form. And in the centre, particularly in the first half, we had a great battle between Jarman and Bowie. Bowie was moved off Jarman, I think. It's very hard to tell these days sometimes. I gave Jarman 2 and Bowie 1. Jarman a bit ahead of Bowie because his kicking is probably more penetrating, or certainly more penetrating. But a great effort by St Kilda, particularly as some of their superstars, as in Winmar and Lockett, although he got 6, and Lowy. Lowy did star in the first half, by the way. But it was done without those enormous contributions from those absolutely top players, and I could put McAdam in there. McAdam had an average day, so it means that St Kilda have now got a base of good players who can come to the occasion with best on-ground performances.
Danny, with Ken Sheldon over the last couple of weeks before the victory last week against West Coast Eagles, did you notice any change in his coaching? Did you start to feel the pressure mounting on him?
Well, everyone was feeling the pressure, Tim, and from the coach right down to the to the boot stutter. You know, as a club, you have a couple of losses like that, everyone feels, and yeah, Kenny was feeling the pressure, as were all the players. And I think it was just an attitude problem and a confidence thing with the players that we were good enough to turn it around.
Danny, actually, I think you probably should congratulate us as selectors in the state side, because we freshened you up nicely, kept you on the bench in the last 2 weeks, and have really showed that. But do you think playing at full back, did you just find Hawthorn's skill level may have dropped in sort of recent weeks, or just to me, looking at the replay yesterday, it seemed that way and made maybe your job a little easier?
It did for sure, Calvin. I think guys like Pritchard and Jarman and these blokes, I think it was through our midfielders putting pressure on their players when Jarman and these guys were kicking the ball. They just sort of put pressure on them and knocked them off tilt a little bit, just put the ball in the air and made my job a hell of a lot easier. And, you know, I have seen the ball come down better in a Hawthorn forward line.
Danny, I heard Kenny Sheldon after the match talking about going to Waverley, and he said that it allowed him to train his team better. They didn't have to worry about smaller grounds or bigger grounds. What exactly did he change your training pattern if you're playing on different grounds?
Yes, we do that, Bob. We train a little bit harder when we're playing on the bigger grounds, and of course more running is involved on the bigger grounds, so we do more sprints and tone our training that way. But you know, next year obviously we'll be playing 12, 13 games next year, so we'll be doing a lot of the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, Danny, you should get a tremendous lift in confidence. I mean, you've beaten the grand finals of last year absolutely convincingly. Probably the inner confidence, not just the outside stuff, but right inside where you really draw upon in pressure games and in pressure situations. That must be highly stocked up now after the last 6 days.
That's right, Ronnie. It was just below the surface, you know, a fortnight ago, and I believe it was only one good win away from getting that confidence back. And as you said, we're looking forward to the next few games. Next week's an important game for us against Fitzroy at home. It'll be a very emotional game, the last game at Moorabbin, so we're looking forward to that and hopefully cementing our place in the finals.
Danny, you've got a fantastic record against big-name players. This is you personally at full-back, and I know Bernie Quinlan told us how difficult you were to play on. Do you have to devise different tactics for different players, or do you tend to play the same way, week in, week out, play from behind and try and punch, or do you have to change your tactics each week depending on the full forward?
You do have to change your tactics now and again, like a guy like Peter Sumich, who was very good on the left foot, so you try and put him in the opposite pocket. If he does get a mark, it makes it hard for him to kick the goal instead of on his natural side. So, but a lot does depend on the players at the ground putting pressure on their midfielders.
But while I'm surrounded by these, the full forwards on either side,
The greats.
have a look at the eye of Danny Frawley, and you're always saying fullbacks are thugs. Now have a look at that.
Well, speaking of that eye, Danny, how did that pop up?
Oh, an old adversary of mine yesterday, Gerard.
He's throwing his weight around.
He was throwing his weight around a bit. Yeah, that's enough said on that, I think.
No names.
No.
Can I just ask Ron a question? I was just interested, Ron, do you think that Hawthorn, with the personnel they got right at the moment, are a little bit limited when they get into trouble with what moves they can make?
Well, I think they're limited because some of their big names aren't firing. And one from last year, Peter Hudson's son, is
Paul
in the
Hudson.
reserves. Yeah, is in the reserves.
What I'm
As an
referring to,
example.
the only move they seem to be able to make is, say, Deer into the ruck, and that's about it.
Well, their runners are all fairly interchangeable, aren't they? Don't you think?
Well, I'm
Like,
talking
well,
about key positions and things like that that may win a game when you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, one used to be Dermy. You go put him at full forward in the pocket, centre half forward or on the half forward flank. Now, until he gets fit, he's limited. So you're right, but I think it's a bit more than that. I think a few of the stars have dropped back a bit or retired or are out of form, and the rest of the players haven't risen to the occasion. Like the younger players haven't risen to the occasion, and they'll be a lesser side unless they do, because all those superstars. Gary Ayres is injured at the moment, as an example. Tuck's retired. Dunstall's got to wait.
Yeah, well
one end of
spoken,
the
Bruce.
ground.
I think you've made your point there. Danny, Danny, thanks a lot for coming in. You've been a tremendous guest, and good luck for the rest of the season. Things are really starting to happening for St Kilda, and perhaps you'll be there in the last day in September. But don't go away. In a short while, we'll be back with Timothy Watson and his summary of the West Coast Eagles Geelong match. Kenny Hinkley and Tim Watson at the West Coast St Kilda game. Once again, all St Kildas, Winmar, Harvey and Daniels. And Bernie Quinlan, Adelaide and Melbourne. Lovell, Lovett and McDermott, who's having a terrific season, got another vote. The progressives, Simon Atkins, who's been down on form but still in the lead by 2, from Darren Jarman, who was good again yesterday, particularly in the first half. Lowe, Hinkley, Wind, Dunstall, Kemp and McGuan. So we'll be back in just a couple of moments with goals of the move.
Out of bounce.
We're on the move, Ron.
In the goal square, waiting for the kick off the ground. Brennan had left him to go up and make the play.
Tony Lockett here, yes. You see Tony Lockett using his great bulk to advantage. And that was one of his 7, I think. It's the Eagles in difficult conditions.
And this is a terrific piece of crumbing by McMillan. Wrong foot, going full pace, amazing angle.
And yeah, one of the real up-and-comers for the Essendon side is Paul Hills, and he shows a lot of confidence, has a couple of bounces, runs away from Tony Shaw and slots through an important goal for the Dons.
And here's another top goal. This is from Gary Purdy's run from the full back line here, and a kick under pressure. He's angled the ball, kicked it around the corner with a guy coming in and an attempted smother. Great goal.
Yes, and the Peter Dacos lookalike here, a tremendous goal. He probably ran a mini marathon here. I counted there was 15 strides. The umpires must have been the night conditions, couldn't pick that up. An exciting goal on Friday night.
And here's Peter Wilson. It's just straight out good footy here. It's a very easy kick at the finish, but good stuff.
Another newcomer here for the Eagles is Matt Kleppe, I'm not sure how the pronunciation, but from the 50 with the wind, that big left foot, and a very competent goal.
And Paul Kelly here. It's a very good evasion. Regulation kick at the finish. Nice footy.
And whilst we're still at the Western Oval, we'll see number 29 here, Chris Grant. As Gerard said earlier, over that appendix operation, and a timely snap there when they were in a bit of trouble, I think, and Chris Grant undoubted ability.
And here's Daryl Hart. It's obviously needed a bit of luck here, but it's very quick thinking. But again, is good stuff.
Yes, and a typical full forwards goal here. Don't look for the handball, just kick it from the boundary. Through it goes.
failed full forward.
And here's another goal from the ruckman centre bounce knock. It's a very, very fine effort, this one.
Yes, they'd be
Just in
coaching
from
like that
50.
play, wouldn't they? Straight out of the centre. But it's good to see North Melbourne's full forward, John Longmire, showing this aggression here as he brushes, well, he will in a moment anyhow. He gets past Dorotich, which is no easy task, and brushes another Carlton opponent and finishes off well. Good goal, Longmire.
Very lucky on the tackle there. John McCarthy, very sure ball handling here. Good concentration on that kick.
And we go to the MCG, where we see Swartz get it up the ground to Keogh, the number 31. Looks a bit like Ron Barassi running down, bouncing there, but unlike Ron, can kick with his left foot and puts through a lovely goal.
He was going faster than Ron too.
Kicking. I always meant to kick foot. Right, we finally decided here on McMullen of Collingwood. His, thank you for that camera there. His goal here is just absolutely sensational. Look at that take. Very awkward angle, left foot, going virtually full pace. Amongst many good goals here, because you had Purden, you had Hills, and who else was Bradley Rowe? Yeah,
there were plenty of good
stuff.
goals there, Ron, but if you have a look at the winners here over the progressive rounds, McMullen, Buick was a beauty last week down at Tasmania, Minton Connell, the double kick it whammy there, and Michael Gale from Fitzroy. And have a look at the progressive goal kickers. Well, it's tightening up for the Coleman medal. Dunster with none yesterday has really opened the door for Tony Lockett, and it's a battle between two there for the Coleman medal. So, in just one moment, and hopefully they'll be ready, Bobby Davis and Peter McKenna will take a look at Marks of the Week.
The Mark of the Week and the Mark of the Year.
Strength, one-handed grab, Stewie Lowe.
And a most exciting player from Adelaide, Anthony Modron. You'll see here, eyes on the ball, brought it all the way down. Had 2 or 3 little snips out of it, brought it down.
And Tony Modra again in the pack. Oh, he is a great overhead mark. He's not over tall either.
One from Friday night. Taking a long time to get up, Modder, is he? Good heaven. I have to take marks off for that. There's Richardson. Oh, hurt his back, but took the mark. It was a real gutsy mark.
Now, Todd Ridley's taken some rippers this year. There's another one up high and on the chest as he went down.
The St Kilda player, Dale Kickett. Nice regulation mark at the back. Good judgment.
Now, number 35 for Adelaide, Rodney Jamieson is a high flyer also. Seeing up the sensational rules
Just
man
touch
here.
you in the back. Let those things
Now,
go.
Bob, you're you were a great high flyer. I'll leave it to you.
It's a long
Oh,
fly.
thank you, Peter. Well, I selected the first mark of Anthony Modras together with you, Peter. I mean, we did go together. And we'll look at it here, and everything's right. He's got his eyes on the ball. You see, he used his thumbs as shock absorbers. When the ball hits your thumbs there, you just take the power of the ball and just stop it. And Anthony Modra wins the mark of the day. Thank you, Brian.
And thank you, Bobby. And the progressive winners there, Modra, Dunkley, Grant, Winmar, Ridley, who's really got a big leap, and Darren Jarman. Well, boys, it's been great fun, but it's time to say goodbye.
It is.
Unfortunately, it is, Bobby.
Did you give Jared any votes out of 10, Tim?
Yes, I'll give him Jared an 8.
Oh, thanks very much, Tim.
An 8. What about you?
What are those things on the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave him the number.
Pity about the head. What about you?
I sort of went like that. I thought looks were fair, presentation very good, acoustic quality very good. I thought panel support was excellent.
Excellent, yeah, it was
Ron?
too.
It's backwards.
Thanks, Ron.
He's got a 10.
Thank you.
I gave Jared ability none, looks none, confidence 10. Now that's out of 10.
Now, Jared, will you be here? Were you doing it again, Jared?
No, not at this stage, Bobby.
All right, well, you get a 2. I had 10 if you were doing it again, to be truthful.
Now, Bob, if you had to give your grand finalist for the year, how would you go?
Geelong and Collingwood.
Peter?
Well, Collingwood will be one, and the other one will be Hawthorn.
Oh, he sticks like
jumped up
glue,
like a
doesn't
balloon.
he?
I'm sticking on.
You're unbelievable.
I'm sticking with them.
Ronald.
I'll go Collingwood Hawthorn.
Oh.
Interesting.
I also think Collingwood and West Coast.
Simon?
Footscray Collingwood.
And thanks for joining us today. You've been
Thanks,
marvellous
Jared.
again, and
Yeah.
keep up the good work on the suntan.
Collingwood West Coast.
Thanks very much, Timothy. So Collingwood, plenty of